You haven't given me the predictions yet.
Tonight, I need to take some time to start. Okay, so before you, can I just refer to the questions?
Yeah.
So that I can refer. Okay, we start with essay first, okay? Okay, so can I just get a show of hands who's gonna actually consider personal recount as an option when you're writing a paper? If nobody's gonna consider it, I'm not even gonna go through it.
What's personal recount?
Okay, okay, never mind. Just don't even raise up. So anybody else gonna ask, like, actually consider writing personal recount? No, right? So it's die just write argumentative and discursive, right? Okay, can let me don't need to go through personal recount. Okay, so let's talk about argumentative first. I mean, let's look at the two questions here. So the first question is, it's important for young people to embrace change. What is your opinion? So are you all stressed or not?
Yeah, no shit.
For what?
I don't know, everything.
For what?
What are your
like,
stresses like? Like what are you worried about?
English, right?
English.
What exactly lah? Like cannot form points or like
Yeah.
oh but then the writing technique all okay lah. What is
That was okay. And the paper too.
okay, can. Okay, so let's look at this question. It is important for young people to embrace change. Okay, so when I talk to most of y'all, the most common problem I hear is y'all don't know how to form points, right? Or when you form your points, it's quite weak. Okay, so that's what we need to focus on today, yeah? So today I'm going to teach this for the last time already, because even if you want me to teach you again, then like no point already, because I don't know what the fuck you want to do with this information. Okay, so whenever you see an essay question for argumentative and discursive, what is the first thing they need to find? There's actually three important things, right? So what's the first important thing?
Topic.
Topic. Okay, so after you find the topic, what must you find?
Actually,
Okay, so let me just write the framework in the corner. Framework. Okay, so the first step is always topic, and then second one?
Magic word.
No, that's your third
Or
step.
deciding factor.
Deciding factor, because every single essay we will always try to decide between two things. Okay, it's always like that one, and there's never a question where there's like 10 options for you to decide or anything like that, okay? Deciding factors.
No, but what is your opinion? Isn't it expository?
Yeah, it's expository writing, but this applies for all expository writing, argumentative or discursive. Okay, deciding factors, and the last one is your magic word. Okay, so if you cannot find your magic word tomorrow, don't need to panic. It's more important that you find your topic and your deciding factors. That's the most important.
What about tomorrow?
I mean, on next week, okay? So it's the same thing. Tomorrow, next week, 4 days difference, like whatever. Okay, so if you cannot find your magic word, I don't need to panic. Go and focus on topic and deciding factors first. That's more important. Okay, so what is your topic? What is deciding factor? Topic is what your whole essay is about, the biggest theme. Okay, the next thing is what is deciding factors. So every essay you need to decide between A and B. Alright, so what's the topic here?
Embracing change.
Embracing change, and the next one is what?
Young people.
Young people.
Is it important?
Yeah. Is it
Is it important?
Okay, so wrong. So the okay, well you threw me off a bit. Okay, so what the topic here is young people. Then what are we trying to decide here? Important to embrace change or not important to embrace change? You guys see?
Why do you get the topic wrong?
Okay, then what would you decide here?
Are you cooked?
Yeah, your points will be very funky. Okay, so it's very important, very easy to identify, right? When I say, so the topic is young people, and then we're trying to decide whether it's important to embrace change or not important to embrace change. Does it make more sense? Because that's what we're trying to decide in this essay, right? Okay, so cannot get this confused. That's very easy to find. Just ask yourself this simple question. You just find all your keywords and ask yourself which can be deciding factor, which is just solving a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, very simple one.
What GG, I know. You look better in real life.
I know, bro.
Through the camera.
I look damn stupid.
Just the. Sorry.
It's okay, just roast me, bro. It's okay.
Lucky. Every time I look out, right, it's just in my eye. You know?
Okay? No, stop looking at that. So let's talk about topic first, which is young people. Okay, so what about young people that we need to talk about? So whenever you find a topic, you need to list out different characteristics. Okay, so the same thing for deciding factors. So when you have deciding factors, decide is whether to embrace change or not embrace change.
We are forming our points, right?
Yeah, now we're forming our
We are
points.
planning the essay.
Yes,
How long
correct.
should we take?
Sorry?
How long should we take before we start?
Preferably, because this one I don't mind you guys spending more than 5 minutes.
5
So even if it's like 7-8 minutes, it's fine.
Okay, so
Because as long as you have your points out, right? Once you write a topic sentence, your whole essay is very automatic one already.
Okay.
Okay? So next thing is you can talk about young people. So what are some characteristics about young people today?
Inexperience.
Chronically online.
chronically online again. Chronically online, technologically dependent. Dependent again, competitive society.
Stress.
Yes, society, fast-paced lifestyle. Okay, stressful environments. Okay, so this is all the different characteristics about young people. Okay, so you also can talk about socially aware and all that stuff. Okay, so this is all the general points that we always form when we see words such as young people. So the next thing we talk about embracing change. So what are different characteristics about embracing change?
Very huggy.
Sorry?
Like you huggy.
No, that's wrong. Okay, so this is bullshit. So when I talk about embracing change and not embracing change, what do these two things mean? So that's what deciding factors trying to talk about.
Adaptability.
Exactly. So embracing change means adapting, right? Adapting, accepting change, being open-minded.
I don't close-minded, stubborn.
Exactly. Okay. Then the other one is what? Sticking to traditional beliefs. Traditional beliefs. Okay. Okay. Then being what else? Being closed off to new ideas. Okay, so these are all the different characteristics about not embracing change. Okay, so this is how you need to plan lah. Okay, so the next thing is, what do we do to form our first points? We need to combine our topic and deciding factor, right? So you just have to pick out any one of these topics that you think is best and then choose which side you want to talk about. So let's talk about, we live in a fast-paced society today, right? So is it important to embrace change or not embrace change? Important to embrace change, right? Okay, so that's how you form your first point. Is it easy or not? Okay, so let's talk about fast-paced society, right? So you can just talk about when you form your point. It will just be, the formula is paraphrase question. The main thing is topic plus deciding factor. So this is how you make sure that your point is super precise. So when you write your point this way, later on when you're doing your elaboration, it will be super easy to do. You don't need to waste time to think about what you're actually going to write. Okay, so for instance, you can talk about young people today live in a fast-paced society. It is crucial for them to embrace change. Okay, so when we do this, hey, stop complaining about handwriting lah. Okay, so when you have this point over here, is it easy to talk about the elaboration part already?
His handwriting is nice. Why you so insecure?
Because I hear this every lesson. Every time I come up here, the first thing I hear is before question writing, hey, your handwriting so shit like that. Okay, so let's talk about the next thing.
Wait, what was the word next to today? Is it
Young.
like?
Young, okay? So young people today live in a fast-paced society. So the next thing we need to do is elaboration. Okay, so elaboration is very important because what is the purpose of your elaboration?
Is to clarify vague terms.
Exactly, okay? So before you even start writing your elaboration, you must understand what you're trying to achieve out of writing your elaboration. Okay, because if you don't even know what you're trying to achieve out of this, right, your elaboration will be very weak. Okay, so the main purpose is to clarify.
Just yet, bro.
No, shut up. It's not about yapping. That's literally what I'm trying to make you guys not do. Don't yap, okay? So you need to have a structure. So you need to understand a good elaboration. You must be able to clarify vague terms and give context. And the only way to achieve this is by following my formula. You believe it or not, that's really the only way, okay? So you need to identify your keywords first, and then you need to form your what and why questions, okay? So you can talk about, also what's your keywords here? Fast-paced society, embrace change. Right, so we can just talk about what is a fast-paced society,
Changing.
yeah, and why is there a fast-paced society. Okay, so when you follow the simple formula, your essay will have depth. Okay, understand? So the first simple question you can form is, what is a society? Okay, why is there fast-paced society? Okay, the next thing you want to form is, what is embracing change? Yeah, can. Why is it important to embrace change? Okay, so these are important questions that can easily form. Right, is this question hard to form? No, right, it just takes 10 seconds for you to form. Okay, so when you actually follow this format, your structure, your ideas will be organized. There will be a flow on what you're talking about. And after you write this part, your marker will know exactly what you're trying to write for your point. Okay, so when you follow this method, it also guarantees that all three of your paragraphs talk about different things. Because the next paragraph, you talk about competitive society, right? Will it ever be the same elaboration as this paragraph? No, right? Because the question you form, what is a competitive society? Why is that competitive society? Elaboration, no way how hard you try, you'll be writing the same thing. But if you do not follow forming these questions, and you just write without a structure, there's a high chance that you'll be repeating points, or even worse, writing stuff that is not relevant to the question. Okay, so when you follow this format, right, whatever you're writing about is directly coming from the question, so no way that you go out of topic. Understand? Okay, so when we talk about what is embracing change, we already talked about it. Okay, so what is fast-paced society? We talk about fast-paced society is when things are constantly moving forward, right, in terms of what? Or politics, right? In terms of what else? Advancement, technology, politics, our life, our workforce, industries, everything is moving forward. Okay, the next thing is, why is there a fast-paced society? Because there is
Is there a growing demand?
growing demand, all these things, right? We can talk about increasing globalization, all that stuff. Okay, so why is there increasing globalization? Also can just bring another topic subject.
Why is that?
Sustainable tourism.
Oh, hello. Yeah, so
It is a common private, bro. I saw this morning. No. The POA guy. The POA guy.
Oh shit.
They're gonna hide.
Is it something?
They're gonna go for morning runs at 5 a.m. bro. Do you think the research is bro, it's like one of them, bro.
No, my friend posted in the group.
Can you get me?
No.
You like this, you know? You like this? It's good, bro.
so for the first part, it means like a recording or saying later.
I genuinely don't care.
Yeah, I also don't care, bro.
My good is not going to point.
I didn't know this anything.
How do you think of examples?
Wait,
This is the same thing as saying you let me score, bro. This is the same thing as I tell you that you let me score. You let me score.
It's not okay, what?
I mean, like, you say like this and then okay lah, but you score.
Not talking
What
about
is that?
What?
That's crazy.
It's not okay.
You know, like that's about the game, bro.
Oh, you meant literally.
Yo.
Oh shit, what the fuck?
Wow, Jerry, so locked in today.
Who?
You,
Why?
you're more locked in than me. That's funny.
See, because you see Lopi, I forget my muffins outside.
You have been watching Naruto for 18 hours yesterday.
It's okay, I tell you what, I tell you after secondary exam, I
Why you more locked in than me?
Okay, so let's continue from where we left off. So how do you talk about all these things? So what is a fast-paced society when things are constantly changing, right? Constantly moving forward or evolving.
At a fast pace. No,
Okay,
sorry,
constantly evolving. Okay, so when you say things are, cannot just leave it as things, must clarify things such as what? Okay, talk about technological advancements, then talk about politics, talk about globalization. All these different things are considered things are. So I'm not gonna write all this down, but then you need to write it down. Okay, so the next thing is, why is there a fast-paced society? Because of technological advancements and demand. Okay. The next thing is, what is embracing change? Accepting change or being open-minded, adapting and all that stuff. Okay.
Wait, when you address the question, is it all one-liner?
Address these questions.
Yeah.
Can be one line also lah. Because even if you write one line, end of the day, when you write elaboration, how many sentences we have? 5 sentences.
Okay.
Okay, because we write 1 plus 5 plus 1 for example, then 3 below. There will be 10 sentences per paragraph lah.
What if you, in your elaboration of the topic sentence, you bring up your example?
Because I know that's what you always do. You always talk about the example first, then you go on to elaborating. Okay, so that's the method you can use lah. But then the problem there is, if you do not show the relevance to your point, then you'll just look like an example just sticking out. Because it's very important to show that how the example supports your topic sentence immediately. Okay, because when you go to GP next year, then that's what we will do first. GP is different. GP will talk about example first, then we'll talk about that one.
Not if,
Huh?
When you keep GP, right?
but when.
Next year.
Next year, yeah. Okay, so this is what you need to do. So why is it important embrace change? So this important part you'll be tackling later on. Okay, so you can just talk about important embrace change because if not you'll be left behind and all that stuff, right? So this is the standard explanation. But the specific one about important, we'll be talking about it later. Okay, so this is for your elaboration. So the next thing is your example. Okay, so what is your purpose of your example? The example must support your point exactly, right? So if your point is to show that you are gay, can you show that the statistic that 90% of men are gay in Singapore? Does that support your point of me being gay?
No.
No, right? Not at all, right? Okay, so you need to zoom into your keywords. Okay, so your keywords are fast-paced society and embrace change. So what can you talk about? Can you talk about some career thing where people who don't upskill themselves constantly get sacked and fired and all that stuff? Okay, so there's some simple examples you can talk about. Because why? It shows exactly why they're getting fired, right? And why they need to embrace change. Okay, so you can just talk about.
What about AI?
Can so if your example is about AI, must
ChatGPT.
yeah, anything also relevant lah. Okay, so you can talk about example. So the next most important thing is your explanation of example. Okay, so this is the most crucial one because most students do this very badly or they don't even do it because they just do your PEEL. Okay, so that's why I've been talking about it for the whole year. We need to do the extra E. So what actually do we talk about in this extra E? So, Alfred? So what's the two purposes of this extra E?
Is to make your example more like
Show relevance.
Correct. Okay, to show relevance. So all of you understand? So the first purpose of having this part is to show that your example supports your point. Okay, so how do we start this? We start this with a simple explanation, right? So the keyword or the simple sentence, the sentence structure that you can use is this, that we demonstrate, and you go on to explain what your example is showing. Okay, so when I say people are getting fired because of the constantly fast-paced society, right, to talk about what? So more technological advancements are being used in workforces such as what? AI dependence and all that stuff. Okay, so what? So hard skills are no longer relevant in today's workforce, right? Because they are heavily dependent on the use of technology. So workers who are not willing to upskill themselves, what will happen to them?
Get fired.
Get fired, right? Okay, so when you write a specific statement over there, does it make your example even more stronger? Okay, so that's what we're supposed to do, to always show that our example supports our point in what way.
Isn't it even more strong?
Okay lah, like I got sprained ankle. Okay, don't ask me this type of like retarded question. Okay, show reference. So the next thing is
That's why you're walking like that.
exactly.
I thought something else.
I'm on a lot of medications. Okay, show reference. The next part is to address magic word. Okay, so whenever you find your magic word, you need to identify between two things. So all your magic words can be categorized into two main forms. So the first form is your comparative terms. Okay, so comparative terms means what? You compare A versus B. Okay, the second type of magic word is your non-comparative. So there's no comparison involved. Understand? That's so very easy. So you need to identify comparative or non-comparative. Because you go show a comparative example, comparative elaboration for a non-comparative term, it will be marked incorrect. Okay, so in this case, what's our magic word here?
Important.
Important. Is important a comparative term?
No.
No, right? Because there's no such words as what? More important, right? So the word is only important. So we don't need to talk about comparison and all that stuff. So we need to only address why is it important. So why would you say that water is important to your life? Because without it you will die, right? Okay, so you need to show what happens if you do not what? Embrace change. Okay, so to actually show that something is important, you have to show what happens without it. Correct? So at the same thing, when I ask you, do you guys think it's important to sleep? What will you tell me? Yes, right. Okay. So Chingy, I ask you, is it important to goon every day? What will you tell me?
But it depends.
No, shut up. You will tell me if I don't go every day, I cannot fall asleep at night, right? You have to talk about what happens if you do not do it. Okay. So that's how you address the magic word of important.
you won't get post-nut therapy.
Exactly. Okay. What? Negative effects. Okay, this is not followed.
Wait, Adam,
Mm-hmm.
how you spell dependent?
Why?
Technologically dependent.
Okay, like you know how to spell dependent, right? Okay, so let's let it be.
Is it,
Okay.
is it ENT?
Dependent.
It's
Yeah.
ENT, right?
Yeah. Eh? Is it? Yeah,
Yes,
should be.
it is.
Okay, yeah, okay. So this need to do your explanation of example. So explanation of example, these are the two main things. Your first thing is to show relevance of your example. The next thing is to address your magic word. So whenever you try to address your magic word, you need to talk about comparative or non-comparative. Okay, let me ask you a question. So the word is today's society. Is that a comparative term or non-comparative?
Comparative.
What are you comparing with?
The past.
Did they ask you to compare with the pras?
No.
You'll just assume yourself or what? No, right? So whenever you see the word today's society,
Yeah.
it is not a comparative term. So how do you address the keyword today's society? You'll talk about a characteristic of today's society. Okay, that's the only way to address it. So if they're not asking you to compare, do not go and compare because it's not a question requirement. Understand? Okay, because today's society is a very common. So in other words, what is must be? Is must be a comparative term? No, right? It's the same thing as important, okay? So you need to identify comparative or not comparative. If you go and do a comparative explanation for non-comparative, you will not get any extra marks up, okay? Because it's not relevant to the
Usual
field.
list of common phrases.
There's damn a lot, bro. You just need to identify. That's why I put in the
Oh,
two
yeah.
common ones, okay? There's every question is a different way to phrase it. So the only way to identify is comparative or non-comparative.
But then it's like comparative and non-comparative is like saying girl or guy.
Yeah, lah, correct lah. So you cannot say
No,
guy.
then it's clearly the other one.
Yeah, but then you need to identify each important keyword.
What's the comparative one?
More important. So more important you need to compare with embracing change and not embracing change. Okay? So that's all you need to do about for your first part, yeah?
If your topic sentence already have one characteristic about today's society, then how you do the magic word?
Next one we talk about more important one. So
No,
that we need
like-
to repeat points.
Like if the question change, like in today's society, young people need to embrace change. Then you write this topic sentence, right?
Then the magic word is young people or something like that. You need to find other young magic words.
Okay.
Okay?
The characteristic, you talk about
Yeah.
young people characteristics.
Yeah, correct. So you need to just find three things to address. Because the way they structure questions is for you to have these three things.
So if it's today's society, young people, like what Kara said.
Okay,
That's the
so
topic.
what's the question again? In today's society. Then it is
Young people need to embrace change.
That's the topic.
young people need to embrace change. Okay, so it's not the same thing. So young people is the topic, the elaboration will be the same thing. So this is what we're trying to decide, right? Then your magic word will be what? Today's society. So today's society is what? So this question is a bit weird. Okay, because today's society and embracing change is like opposite things, right? Today's society talks about the present and embracing change is about talking about the future. But then let's say they actually give you this question which is like talking about two different things. Today's society just need to talk about the characteristics of today lah. So today what are some characteristics? Because both of these things is a bit, they won't form a question like that. Fast pace, all these things, right? Okay, so when you go and actually talk about this thing, the question is like a bit funky lah. So you just don't try to create your own questions because they create a question specifically, yeah?
Why do you not compare to the past?
Because it's not a comparative term. So only when it's a comparative term, the marking criteria requires you to compare.
Can you give an
But
example?
like,
Wait ah.
for this question, I feel like,
This question or that question? This question is not a real question. This question won't come out.
but if it comes out,
It won't come out because they won't. I'm telling you, it's like they won't give you this question because this question is not a good question.
Wait, why? Why this question not a good question?
Because every time they form your questions, there's always these three things. Okay, so when you see today's society and embrace change, it's like completely different things because today's society is talking about present, then embracing change is talking about the future.
no, but I thought we were comparing why now it is more important that we embrace change versus in the past we do not need to do so because of certain reasons.
Okay, so the question you're asking, right? The question will never come out lah. Okay, so there will never be a thing where they're saying like compared to the past, people today need to embrace change more. Is that what you're trying to ask?
No. What if they ask in today's society, maybe young people face more mental health challenges?
That's a completely different question that you want, right?
I know.
Yeah, you just
Bro,
want
I
one
understand
question.
it. Bro, actually
Okay, so we're talking about. Okay, so let's talk about this question. So
Bro.
okay, So I remember during the question last time is compared to the past to the present, who cares more about politics or something like that, right?
Yeah,
But
that
then the
was
other one is
Prelim, right? Okay. So what was the exact question? I'll go through that one because that's what you're all talking about, right?
In
Compared to the past or something like that, right? So what's the exact question? I'll go through.
More
Because
Compared to
interested
their
in
parents.
politics.
compared to their parents,
then
More interested.
okay.
the Eniger high paper is that young people to
Wait, one question at a time, bro. You guys, you guys know 50 questions in the past 5 minutes already, bro. Let me think about one question
Who's
first.
the second?
Compared to their what?
For what?
Parents.
Or
young people today are more interested.
Eniger high is resilient.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wait,
Yeah,
who's the
Eniger
second
high
one?
is resilient.
Who's the setter?
Is it
More
the
interested
blur,
in
the
politics.
Chinese looking
Okay.
one?
No, for
Oh,
English.
Mariam.
Who is Mariam, bro? She fucked us up.
Okay, so all of you read this question, okay? So yeah, compared to their parents, young people are more interested in politics. Okay, so what's our top?
Less.
Bro, write down the second one.
We know.
Wait, shut up, one at a time. Okay, so compared to their parents, young people are less interested in politics. So JC, is this relevant to your question?
I can't see it.
What?
Compared to their parents, young people are less interested in politics. Is that relevant to your question? What's your question actually?
No, how do I know if I need to compare this?
Because
Because
okay, so the term is a comparative term. So what's a comparative term? More or less, right? So you have to say more or less than is comparative. So the word is today or is it important? Then you don't need to talk about comparing. So if it's more important, then you talk about why is it more. So how do you show that water is more important than Mountain Dew? You have to compare, right? What's the limits of Mountain Dew? What are the benefits of water? So that's the only way you do comparison. Understand or not? Is the comparative thing clear now?
Yeah.
Can all of you clear? Caitlin clear? Okay,
Yeah.
you're not clear?
Young people today are less resilient. than-
Yes, okay, so when you see less, right? Then you need to compare past with the present or something like that. Okay, so when you don't see comparison such as more or less or greater, all these things, right? You don't need to do past with the present or compare between two things, okay? So compared to their parents, young people are less interested in politics. So this one is obviously a comparative term. So what are we trying to compare here?
Parents and young people.
So that's basically the past versus
Present.
present, right? Okay, so we need to talk about past versus present.
You address this in where elaboration of example.
Yeah, correct. So this is your past versus present, which we're talking about elaboration example. So your topic will be politics. Okay? So next thing, what are you trying to decide? Interested or
Interested.
more interested or less interested? So the next thing is this will be in our explanation of example. Okay, so we need to talk about past versus present. What are the different factors in the past and what is it? How has it changed in the present? The reason for change and how has it influenced our point? Okay, understand? Okay now? Understand now? So any question, just ask me now. But then don't form a new question again. Okay, so other than that, you guys understand how to answer this question already?
We give for 1 point.
Okay, so politics. Okay, so what does politics mean?
What's
Current
politics?
affairs. Is it? Wait, no, it's not. It's not the same as current affairs, right?
So we can talk about politics is basically like
Civil participation.
yeah, basically what like
Governance.
your voice in all that stuff, right? So politics we consider you can talk about your opinion in government related matters and all that stuff. Okay, so we can talk about less or more interested. You can see they are more interested. So how do you know they are more interested or less interested?
They devote more than time.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to decide, right? Less or more. Okay, so how do you decide between less or more? So when I say more interested, what will you do? Read up about,
Politics.
yeah, correct, keep yourself updated. Then be involved in all this politics, right? Okay, so less interested means what? They are unaware, they're not keeping themselves updated, they're not involved. Okay, so these are the two different sides. So you can say politics, it means what? Like opinion, right? Like trying to speak up for their voices and all that stuff. They are less interested because they do not care. Okay? So what's the difference? What's the contributing factor past and present? In the past, you can talk about they were more.
Open-minded.
the more unfairness in, for example, wages.
Last time got less media.
Less media. Okay, so when you say there's less media, or you can just say a simple one, right? You can talk about technological advancements. So now what are young people concerned about? Their social media image and all that stuff, right? So there's a change. So last time people care about the social media, all these things or not? No, right? So what do they actually care about? Whatever is happening in real life, correct? So they're more in touch with whatever is happening around them. But however, compared to now, all of them are what?
Performative.
Performative, or they live mostly online, so they're out of touch with, yeah?
Must you add the word majority?
For which part?
So majority of
Yeah, so we have a formula, okay? So you can just add a word. Okay, so this thing is when Gareth teacher marked his paper, right? So they gave this comment called sweeping statements. Okay, so sorry. So sweeping statements, what it means is you assume something so that it supports your point. Okay, so it's just basically like making your own assumption, like saying that all the people in Singapore are super stressed. Okay, so is that true? No, right? But then you say that to make your point even stronger. So when you write that thing, it will be considered as your sweeping statement. Okay, but then if you just write it as majority or something like that, and then it won't be considered as a thing, but then you just explain it. Okay, that's why we're trying to do elaboration here. So when you do elaboration properly here, it will not be considered sweeping statement.
We repeat what's the sweeping statement.
Sweeping statement is when like you make up a claim
Uh-huh.
to make your point even
So
stronger.
it's unsupported.
Unsupported or just an overgeneralized statement. Okay? So that one all you have to concern yourself with now. Okay? So that one is just something for you to
That
take
was
note of.
like crazy.
Sorry?
You get like 19 or 20.
Yeah, but then I don't think most of you are making that mistake when I see your stuff. Okay, because it's still fine. Okay, so that's all for your paragraph. Point, elaboration, example, and explanation of example. So do you guys know what's the purpose of each step that we do?
Yeah.
Okay, all very clear now already, yeah?
Yeah.
And how to
Question.
do... Sorry?
I have a question.
Yes.
You know every topic sentence will have is crucial to embrace change, right? So you're gonna answer those two questions at the bottom every single paragraph.
Okay, so when I say embrace change, right?
Yeah.
So can we talk about different characteristics? That's why you say what is embracing change, I put adapting here. So the next one is when I say embracing change is accepting change, being open-minded. All these three things are different.
Actually.
Yeah?
I thought-
Adapting is different from being accepting change, what? Adapting means what? That means you upskill yourself and do what? Do things which will allow you to thrive in this society.
Expository, right? How many paragraphs was he, right?
3 body paragraphs, 1 intro, 1 conclusion.
So the 3 is what? 2 agree, 1 disagree. Or
Wait, I'll answer one question at a time first. Okay, so the next thing is adapting, right? So adapting is when you are able to live with whatever changes is being made now, okay? So that means you change yourself. The next thing is what? Being open-minded, right? So what's being open-minded? Being acceptable to new ideas and not forming protests and all that stuff against it. Understand? So you can talk about young people today, you can talk about socially aware, right? Socially aware, so now got more what? More gay people and LGBTQ people, right? So do you need to adapt to them and become gay or not?
no.
No need, right? You just need to be open-minded and accept them, correct?
Huh.
So that's what it means to embrace change. So there's 3 different characteristics, you can talk about 3 different points.
Wait, but you got 3 paragraph. Isn't being open-minded, accepting change very related?
Yeah, but then that's why we need to do elaboration. If you don't actually go and actually talk about specific things, when you write 3 paragraphs, all sound the same. Okay, so this is the best we can do to make sure that all our 3 paragraphs doesn't sound the same. Okay, so we tackle it individually, adapting, accepting change, being open-minded. All these 3 things you need to explain differently. That's why we need to break it down into smaller parts.
What about like globalization?
For which part?
For not embracing change. Like we found.
Globalization, there's no way you can say not embracing change, what?
No, but like the young people lose their traditions and they take on the more westernized kind of thing.
Oh yeah, so you can adapt that way lah. Okay, so you can just say that due to globalization, right, is what?
Yeah,
It's
but not
important
embracing
to...
change because they lose their identity.
Yeah, so it's just whichever way you want to argue lah. Okay, so it's really up to you. Okay, so you want to talk about globalization and you want to talk about it's important to like protect your identity and culture and all that stuff. You talk about selective adapting lah. Okay, so you only adapt how to integrate into today's society but not losing your all these things are by being westernized. Understand?
Also, the rebuttal can be. If you
Yeah, however, some may argue that.
Wait, what about rebuttal one? Isn't this an expository?
Yeah, I mean, just asking if it is a rebuttal. lah. Okay, so if it's an argumentative question, then you can just write what? However, some may argue that it's important to, or it's essential to, withhold your, what, identity or belief.
Legal.
Like,
What is it?
what's the word for it?
Maintain.
Maintain or like protect your identity or
Yeah.
culture by not embracing change and falling to Western influences, all that stuff, which is very relevant today because of globalization, right?
Yes.
Then you can say what? However, this argument is flawed because
We all need to.
embrace change, right? If you keep sticking to traditional values, what will happen? You'll not be able to.
You get invaded like every single.
Okay, you don't need to say a big invasion and war, like you just say you'll not be able to progress in today's westernized world because even if you believe it or not, what's going to happen? Everybody's adopting Western influences, right? Because of globalization. So you need to find
Common.
a balance, exactly. Okay, so at the same time, you need to find a balance so that while maintaining your identity and culture, you do not fall behind compared to the rest of the society.
Wow. How do you do for oral? Yeah, you can like.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, so anyway, that is all for this paragraph, okay? So I want you guys to write 1 paragraph for this one just to practice this thing. Okay, so that's what we need to practice for now. Any questions you can ask me? Because there's not too many questions already. Wait, let me off the recording first, let my phone die.
Who was the